Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my review of The Boys Episode 2. So, this may have caught some of you by surprise, but I've been thinking about this. So, after I put up my first impressions for The Boys, based on Episode 1, I was told in the comments that by someone that they would have liked to see me react to this. Same with Invincible as well, but that they wish that I could have like reacted to this in the future maybe, and that it would have been fun to see. And it got me thinking, like, what if I chose to instead review each episode as I watched it, kind of in the same way that I've been doing with Hell of a Boss? Except obviously with this, it would be a little more often because Hell of a Boss, there's only like one episode a month. um, and so I thought about it, and I decided I was going to watch episode 2 and determine it at that point. So I did. I watched episode 2, and I decided, you know what? I could talk about this. I could talk about this with each episode I watch. This is the kind of show that I think I could do that for. And will I probably miss stuff talking about this because they're hour-long episodes and there's a lot happening in them? Of course I will. Of course I'll miss certain things. Um, but I think I would like to still put it forward and give it a go and see what I can say about these. It's a different experience than like doing these episodic reviews for Hell of a Boss because Hell of a Boss is a lot shorter, a lot more focused. So it's going to be a little different than that. Again, I will probably miss some things. I will probably forget some plot points or whatnot in there. I'm going to try to review these like the day, basically either on or after I watch the episodes. This is like 2 days after, but going forward, um, and I'll try to do it that way so it's fresher on my mind. But yeah, let's just begin this. And I will say right off the bat, obviously there will be spoilers in these reviews. I will be talking about the content of each episode. So if you have not seen The Boys, if you have not seen the episodes, I would definitely suggest doing so before watching these reviews. So yeah, we obviously already talked about episode 1 in the first impression, so we're going on with episode 2. So continuing right where the first left off, Huey and Billy Butcher, not Billy the Butcher, just Billy Butcher, are in the electronics shop figuring out what to do with um translucent, that's his name. um and they decide to basically tie him up, put him in the trunk while he's still invisible and knocked out, and head off to figure out what to do with him. Now they think he's dead at first, but while they're driving they hear some knocking in the trunk and realize no, he's still alive actually. They bring him to this guy that Billy knows named Frenchie, obviously a nickname based off of the fact that he is French, um, who seems to be in kind of like a few different businesses. He seems to be good with weapons, and various other things. He seems to have a chemist side to him as well, for example. So they go to him and his assistant, I guess you would call her. Um, I don't even remember if she has a name that's mentioned. I assume she did. It's just she's such a minor character at the moment. It didn't click with me, I guess. But anyway, so they go there, show him translucent in the trunk, and basically tell him it's like, oh, he's seen your face now. You can't just deny our request for help here. He knows what you look like. And so he reluctantly tries to help them basically figure out how to kill Translucent. Because Translucent's power isn't just invisibility per se. He actually like turns his skin into like this carbon material that like reflect or refracts the light or whatnot. Um, all that sciency stuff. um, but they take him to another location, put him in an electrified cage, as electricity actually does affect him and knock him out. Um, and basically are just trying to figure out how to be able to pierce his skin and kill him. Huey is not so fond of the idea because Huey's a good boy and he's trying to avoid that kind of stuff. Not really comfortable with killing people. But they're going about it. Um, Eventually, Frenchie gets the idea to try creating a bullet made of a similar carbon material as Translucent's skin. It doesn't work at all. And while there's some kind of nature documentary or something on the television, he then eventually gets the idea of, oh, this guy's kind of like a turtle. This carbon skin is just an outer shell, but inside there's still a softness of fragility, a vulnerability. And so, as they end up saying to Translucent, it's like, we couldn't just put something down your throat, you could just puke it up. That's not reliable. So they stick plastique explosives up his ass. Because of course they fucking do. It's the boys. It is, even though I'm only 2 episodes in, it's like, yeah, it's this series. I get it. Um, so they threaten to blow him up, obviously, because there's really nothing he can do about it. They tell him that like if he tries to dig it out or anything, it'll blow up, and Billy has a detonator as well, which eventually Huey gets a hold of. Is it Huey? I'm starting to second guess if it's Huey. It's something like that. I think it's Huey. Either that or I'm bugging or something. I don't know. I've been saying Huey this entire time, but I've been thinking it sounded weird. I think that's it. But anyways, if I got his name wrong, I do apologize. Anyways, so hair at my mouth, random. So they're threatening him, and he's really freaking out at this for fair reason. I mean, would you want to get blown up? But that's when Homelander comes in. Homelander had been searching for him, Translucent, along with Vought, and eventually they managed to find a little hint of the tracking chip inside of him, inside of Translucent, because even though there's like this paneling that was put up, this foil paneling and everything that would stop that signal from getting out, when Billy shot the carbon bullet that was supposed to pierce Translucent skin and didn't work, it did like create a break in the barrier that was again keeping his chip from transmitting. But they only know the basic idea of where it's at. They don't know the exact location. So Homelander's searching around, and Frenchie has to try and put him off the trail, and it seems to be working. But Frenchie and Billy also call into Frenchie's assistant and have her blow up a building elsewhere. This, when it blows up, Homelander hears it and goes off to investigate, leaving them to basically be safe from that point on. Um, Meanwhile, um, back inside, Translucent had gotten a glass of water from Huey at one point, and he still has the glass, so He ends up peeing in it and using it to short circuit the electricity surrounding the cage, allowing him to get out. He tells Huey to just do the right thing and let him go because Huey has the detonator. And at first it looks like he's going to, but nope. He blows him up. Translucent is dead. Very dead. Gruesomely dead. Yeah. I'm not surprised from what I've heard about this show that they went there, but I am happy that they did, to use the proper, I guess, like metaphor here. I'm happy they did pull the trigger on that. Um, I'm happy they didn't try to hold back and try to keep Huey as like this clean character. Because I feel like this one, it fits the series better to have him do this, and two, I just feel like it's just this big moment that continues to show the brutality and the intensity of this series. So that was kind of the main plot of the episode, but there was some other stuff going on as well. Um, that I'll get to in just a second here, but I just want to give my quick thoughts on this main A plot. Huey is kind of evolving as a character we're seeing. Like, yeah, he wants revenge on A Train, but we're also seeing how he's starting to see other superheroes and how he's starting to see these kind of underworld characters like Billy Butcher and Frenchie as well. His kind of mindset on the world is being changed in a lot of ways. And I think it's definitely going to be an interesting development for his character going forward. Billy Butcher kind of reads as a mentor figure almost to Huey, but also an extremely bad influence at the same time. So it's a really interesting dynamic that you don't often get in shows. You usually, when you have a mentor figure, they're a good influence, or they're just kind of neutral in terms of their influence, but are doing good things to help mentor the character. It's actually pretty rare that I've seen personally, at least, where the mentor figure has some kind of negative influence or is in some way like a quote unquote bad person. The closest I can think of off the top of my head would be Jiraiya from Naruto, and he wasn't even like that bad in terms of how he was teaching Naruto. It was more of just his perversion and everything. His perversion was of really bad influence on Naruto, who is already, a young preteen boy who already had perverted thoughts and made a jutsu that turned him into a naked woman. So, yeah, that's the closest I can think of, but it's still, again, not quite on the same level because Billy is much more aggressively bad influence towards Huey here. Frenchie, I don't know how consistent of a character he's going to be going forward, but I like him so far. I like that he kind of is a jack of all trades in these various skill sets and whatnot. His assistant, she doesn't do anything for me right now, mostly because she just doesn't have enough screen time. She doesn't seem as important. She seems a little moody and a little, um, like, not apathetic, but close to in terms of her personality. But that's about all you really get from her. But let's move on. So let's go to Starlight's part of the story. So we know what happened with Starlight in episode one, and it was not nice. Um, and so now she's just kind of having to deal with the aftermath of what happened, the incident with the Deep and everything. She's handling these different like emotions flowing through her and having to even go on her first mission with the Deep, unfortunately. But she does tell him off really well. Like that scene where she like threatens him, basically saying she'll like burn his eyes out or whatnot was amazing. The way she stood up for herself there against him while they were getting ready to start the job was great. Um, and the excuse he used is an excuse you actually like would hear in various things, and a lot of people have heard in real life, and it's the idea like, oh, well, when I got here they did this kind of stuff to me, basically. He used different wording, but that's basically what he said. It's like, I had to go through this shit when I was new too, and it's like that doesn't make it okay for you to do that to someone else. In fact, that should like kind of be a reason for you to not do that to anyone else. That doesn't make anything right. But they do the job and they do it well, and we get to see kind of the like extreme manufacturing of these scenarios. And from what we've gathered, the scenarios themselves are like real robberies and whatnot, but because of the intel that Vought has and being able to know everything so far ahead of time and being able to just have everything planned out, they're able to work it so that they can have their camera crews there and they can like script out these dumb catchphrases and stuff. And it's like, oh my god. um but yeah, and Starlight also ends up, when out of costume, dealing with these guys who are trying to rape a woman. She saves the woman's life and manages to take down the guys. And then she gets yelled at for basically doing a job outside of her hero costume and like risking, her secret identity and stuff. And it's like, she's, are we, and when she tries to argue, like, oh, but I saved this girl's life, and they're like saying, what girl? There's not even a girl in the footage. People aren't going to see that. It's like, who cares whether or not people see it? She saved a life. That her, she saved someone, so that's what's important here. And it's just like, oh my goodness. It's that case where, because this world is so saturated with superheroes and so like just invested in like advertising them and marketing them, and you get the gist. It makes it feel like kind of like this big false narrative overall. Like it almost makes it feel like completely fake, like a stage play or something, where it's like it's just a bunch of people putting on a show, and it's really upsetting when doing a good deed and saving someone without all the cameras and shit around, when saving someone without all the pomp and circumstance is seen as a bad thing. That's upsetting. That's bad. And during all of this as well, we have a lot of other stuff going down. Homelander has to talk with his boss at Vought, and there seems to be almost a little bit of a hints of a relationship between the two of them. Um, she's upset though about his actions at the end of the first episode, which was him destroying the plane that the mayor of Baltimore was on. And I had thought that that was on her orders because of the entire thing with the blackmailing that he had on her, as well as the price negotiations for the hero. I thought that she had ordered Homelander to do that, but no, apparently he did that on his own volition for her, mind you, but it was his choice. But yeah, based on the way they say, the way they talk about it and everything, it very much seems like they have a relationship with each other. Um, It's hard to know exactly how far it goes, but yeah. There's also these talks about introducing superheroes into the military for combat and war situations. But there's a senator who's kind of refusing the idea and everything, and telling the head of Vought that it's like people, it's not even going to the floor anyways. No one's voting for this. No one's agreeing to this, and she blackmails him in order to force that to continue forward in the government and all. She blackmails him by having this superhero named Doppelganger, who's a shapeshifter. She has him pose as a woman to sleep with the the senator. And while they're engaging in their sexual activities, Doppelganger blindfolds the senator, turns back to his normal form, and takes photos, like against the senator's knowledge. So she uses that to blackmail him so that they can go ahead with their plans to, again, introduce superheroes into the military, which is a very scary thought, which the senator brings up. It's a horrifying thought of these kinds of heroes being in the military, in armed conflict like that. The idea is even brought up like other countries will start sending nuclear weapons and stuff, and she's just so dismissive of that. It's like, well, I'll have one of my guys catch it. It's no problem. And it's just like, okay, but this is gonna definitely be a sign of more and worse conflict than just that single thing. You got to realize that. And there's also this thing in the episode regarding her and Homelander. Like, she's apparently lactating, and she's pumping the milk and everything. Pretty normal thing. It's implied that she has a baby, and it's like, well, though we don't get any actual information on it or anything. Um, but Homelander seems creepily obsessed with it. Like there's one point where he's like watching her through the wall, pumping her breasts and making this really creepy, weird face. And it's like, I mean, if you have a fetish, that's, I guess, fine, but don't be weird and creepy about it, like IRL. It's just that's not okay. Um, yeah. There's also this scene of A Train, the speedster hero who killed Huey's girlfriend on accident, or well, it seemed like an accident at least. But there's a scene of him going to a birthday party, or not a birthday party, a Make a Wish meeting for this kid who has cancer, and it was supposed to be translucent, but because translucent was captured by Huey and Billy and all them, it couldn't be. So A Train was trying to do basically damage control and go in his place. But the kid with cancer is just not having any of it, and he's just not standing for it. It's like he wanted translucent, and he does not care at all about A Train, and everything just goes completely wrong, and A Train makes a fool of himself, and it's not fun. Um, but at the same, I think the scene definitely kind of makes you hate A Train a little more and kind of sympathize with Huey more because of it. Um, he doesn't do anything outwardly like evil or anything. It's just he's not even like super douchey in that scene. It's more along the lines of he's just so oblivious and so dismissive, and it's annoying and irritating. Um, but yeah, it's a pretty good episode, a pretty good follow up to the first one. Still feel like we're just scratching the surface of this series. And there's probably some stuff that I'm forgetting to mention here. Probably some things that just I'm not getting to, but that's unfortunately a danger of happening with this. Because I'm not going to watch the episode again just to catch up. But again, I'll try with future episodes to get to them either day of or day after, depending on when I watch the episodes. If I watch them at night, it'll probably be the day after, but closer to when I've actually watched them and everything. Um, but yeah, yeah. Sorry for this being so long too. It's just there's so much to talk about with this because of it being a longer episode and just having a lot of content to it. But the acting is still great. The the scene setups are great. Uh, oh, there's this one scene as well where Billy goes off to meet with, I guess she's supposed to be an ex, but she's also like a CIA director. And he's trying to get information on the superheroes as they're trying to figure out how to kill Translucent. And it just goes completely wrong. It goes completely bad, and she just has no time for his shit. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, good on you, girl, for standing up for yourself, but it doesn't really help our situation. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of great character moments in this episode, and again, I do like that they went there at the end with killing Translucent, and also I'm not upset about it either, like because the dude was a creepy, horrible pervert who would hide out in the bathroom to spy on people, and it's like that's never okay. So I'm not really sad about his death either. Um, I'm just wondering how it's going to affect Huey going forward. That's really the big thing about it for me. Either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of episode 2 of The Boys, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.